Welcome to Music Ed Tech Talk, a show about music, education, and technology. I'm your host, Robby Burns. With me today is Will Kuhn. Are you really wrapping up break right now?
No, this is we already had spring break a long time ago.
Yeah, I just started it like an hour ago.
Well, that's exciting for you then.
It's so exciting for me.
Feels great.
This is a great way to kick it off. Can we do an hour? I would love to see if we can speed run.
Let's do it. I need to pull up the notes here. Let's do it.
Let's do it. Intro. The intro just happened. Just to kick things off, I want to say again, thanks to new Patreon supporter Molly. Thank you so much for your support of the show. It goes a long way. And we've got some news and some mini topics. Jay was on last time. You're back. We're going to be doing this regularly. And I think as we're kind of like refining the process, we got some, I think at the top of each episode, some news and some mini topics. So I talked about last time that musicedtechtalk.com is now a WordPress site. And I talked about that more in length with Jay last time, so we don't need to talk about it here. But I just thought I would say it again to anyone who's noticed it looks different. The big part of the move has happened. There's going to be a lot of little tiny tweaky things I probably do later this summer. I couldn't get everything to move over the way I wanted to, like my SEO. Like all my old blog posts are still hosted on robbyburns.com with Squarespace. I figured the SEO was working in their favor and people might want to find stuff that I wrote about. There's a couple blog posts that get hit more than others. So I just left it all up there. And WordPress is just great for blogging. It's I'm really enjoying a tool for the Mac. It's a Mac app designed for WordPress bloggers called MarsEdit. And it's like a native Mac app just designed to feel like a Mac app. And it integrates with all the WordPress APIs and just makes it feel real nice to use. So I've been mostly posting from there.
You know what? I might give that a try. I'm a WordPress user myself.
I think you'll like it. I think it'll check the right boxes.
I'm more of a website-based WordPress guy right now, but
I mean, it's nice. It is, people view your site on the web. It's nice to kind of see it as it looks to other people while you're playing around in it. But I also I'm kind of hoping that, I don't know. I don't really know what the future of the web holds, but I know that right now in my life, it's super important for me to feel like I own my own space on the web. And to me, what I'm owning is less the visual look and appeal of at least the blog part of my online presence and more just like the words that are there. So to me, it's like, I'm thinking like it's federated and people can follow it on social sites and it's cross posting to like Threads and Blue Sky and, what's the other one? Mastodon. So I feel like it's pretty easy to subscribe to it through one of those sources or an email newsletter, in which case you're not even seeing what the website looks like anyway. So,
yeah. And websites are more important these days. I feel like, people who have been posting all their music program news on Facebook and Instagram, I feel like fewer people are on those all the time than they used to be. And going to a website that's rock solid, I think that's more important than ever, personally.
Yep. So that's why, in part, why I did it. One of these days, I got a draft of a blog post describing more like why I moved, because I use Squarespace quite a bit, and I think a lot of people are curious about Squarespace. And so one of these days, I'm going to blog about its blogging limitations, which were definitely a part of that.
Websites are back.
Websites are back. We're here to declare it. All right, so
websites are back.
Done. All right, so I've got some recent blog posts that people can go find over on that new WordPress site, and I just wanted to highlight a couple of them here just because they were kind of linky, more just me linking out stuff on the web, but that I thought I would highlight here too. forScore has a new version, 14.4. Lots of highlights. For me, there's a new shortcuts actions added that is something I will and have already been using, and I think probably for most people who are not into that, the half-page turn update will attract them. So let's see. It says here on the website, introduced in forScore 2, half-page turning is one of the most unique features that we've pioneered, and it hasn't changed much over the years until now. You've always been able to reposition half-page turns so that they split the page up at just the right spot, but until you actually turn the page, you can't see exactly where that point is. Now, just tap and hold the half-page turn icon in the display options overlay to turn on indicators, arrows that appear on the right side of each page showing you where the next turn will occur. So I know people who are into that feature and will probably get some use out of that.
forScore is a PDF reader that is tuned for musicians, for those of us who are not forScore regulars. Is that a good description of it?
I think so, yeah. I sometimes call it a glorified PDF reader. It's just like got metadata.
But it's got like quality of life things for people that
Yes.
need to turn pages hands-free and stuff like that.
Like lots of little things like that. And I mean, the development team is primarily like one guy, and he's really responsive to feedback. And I mean, there's been a couple of like things that we've talked about that he's very generously at. I don't know how many people use these things, but he's like throwing them in there. Like there's a thing where you can like copy to your clipboard a link straight into the page of the score that you're looking at and then like paste it somewhere else. So I'll like have in my lesson plan for my day, since I've got all my scores in there, I'll like link out to all the rehearsal spots, sometimes. And
dang.
So like it's just really like every little thing for every little use case, and it's just really clean and polished. And there's no reason. It's one of the few apps. There are other competitors out there, but there's just no reason to use them. Like forScore is reasonably priced, has been getting updates since its launch in like 2009 or 8 or whenever the iPad came out. And
sick. And you're a band director, so you can like, if you need to play a video of something while you're looking at the score, you can put the link in there and it pulls up on the secondary display or whatever you're showing on your projector. That could be kind of cool, actually.
Yeah, sometimes it's nice to just be able to show the kids and the band exactly what's going on in the full score. I know teachers who actually like stream their iPad to an Apple TV while they're conducting, so that the context of everything going on is always visible.
Interesting.
So yeah, good for forScore 14.4. So nice to get these small but meaningful updates. I've been trying out an app that's fairly recent. It's a metronome app for iOS called Practice Pro, and I wrote a quick post about that. I just think people will like it. It's like got a lot of the bells and whistles of something like a tonal energy or a tunable, but in a really, really clean, customizable interface that looks a lot like the widgets you add to your home screen. You sort of have these like little tiny like metronome widgets that are helpful for practice, and you just sort of like drag and drop in the ones you want in the sizes you want. So like you can have a tap tempo button, a tempo control button, a tuning drone button, a stopwatch, a timer, a clock. I like this little one where you can like tally how many times you've done something correctly in a row. I use that with my students a lot when I'm private teaching. And you can just sort of like customize your own little widget-based interface based on just the tools you want to appear in your metronome.
That's you know what? In my book, nothing's better than the DB12, that little blue one.
Oh yeah. A lot of people use that one.
Metronome apps, that's rough stuff in my opinion. But you know what? If they make a good looking one that shuts off the rest of your phone, more power to you. Yeah,
I mean, it's the only one in a while where a student has seen it over my shoulder while I was fiddling with it in a lesson and said, "Oh, what is that? I want that." I'm like, "Oh, okay. Well, if you are a percussionist and you want to know where to find a metronome, I encourage that." So.
Very good, very good.
All right, this next one actually might not be a mini topic, but we can keep it brief if you want. Apple has finally allowed users to migrate iCloud accounts that are used for purchases only into their primary iCloud accounts.
I am falling for it.
I did it.
I've got so many purchases on that secondary account. I am not messing with this. If you want to do it for me and make sure it's done properly, go right ahead. Otherwise, I'm scared of this. I'm not normally scared of stuff, but this seems like the fact that it's optional is like huge red flag.
So I spent a couple weeks kind of watching the news, and then I decided to do it. I would like to just really briefly tell you my experience in the pros and the cons.
You lost all your movies and all your TV shows.
I've been using this account. So first of all, the last time I was having iCloud issues, earlier last year, I guess, I was having like an issue with the Mac App Store staying logged in to my for purchases only account. For those who don't remember, which is probably most people, if you had an Apple ID in the times before iCloud was around, you could have an Apple ID that was not an email address or even associated with an iCloud.com email address. It could just be like a username. So mine was just like a couple of characters. And you would have like an email address associated with it, but you wouldn't use the email as the login. It was not the same thing as the username. So this is a username for simply logging into your iTunes account and buying music on the iTunes store. And then when Apple started adding like all these like cloud-based features, you needed an Apple ID to log in and keep, like your calendar and your documents in sync across devices and for account management purposes. Well, if you had one of these old legacy accounts that wasn't an Apple iCloud.com address, you would have to go into the settings and log in to like the App Store and the Music Store under a separate Apple ID. You basically are logged into two different Apple IDs at once, one for credit card purchases and one for everything else. And so this process effectively allows you to merge your purchases into your primary account. I did it. I've had some expected issues. Like I'm having some issues in Apple Music where I need to I just haven't taken the time to do it yet, but I need to go into my settings and like deauthorize and then reauthorize all my computers that I want, because it's like a little confused about which things in my personal library, not Apple Music stuff, but like which things that I have like added manually to Apple Music can be streamed on which computers. But let me tell you, like I have had no issues with any movies, apps, music. I've had no issues with anything that I purchased. I was super nervous, but I did it. It's working. The only downside is that I had a couple of weird things where I was like using, like I beta test a lot of apps, and I was using my media account Apple ID for that. So I lost all of my beta. So like if I want to beta test anything, I was beta testing. I basically started scratch from all of my betas in test flight. Game Center, for some reason, I was using my old, but like who uses Game Center? So I had to, I have a fresh account for Game Center. The main thing for me was just like, I just want to be able to go to my app history and be able to download something I purchased, and that seems to work just fine.
Yeah.
No issues so far.
I don't think I'm allowed to do it. Like I've got too many family people on it. I have to like leave the family and put it back together, and it's not worth it.
Well, that's the thing too, is so like now we have had to, so my wife was logged in like that. So her media, she had her own iCloud account, but then in the media section, she'd be logged in as if she's me. So now that hasn't really changed much though. Like there's been a couple of apps where like I'm paying like a couple of extra dollars a year to like get their family sharing subscription, which means like, okay, now rather than us just both being logged into my purchase account, now we each have our own, but she's like a family member inside of mine. So it's like a slightly, like it's not really that
weird
terrible.
Stuff like that too. This is brutal. You know what? This is just like the cost of doing business, man.
I know. You have every reason to stay doing what you're doing. I'm just happy to have it be like simplified, and the fact that it didn't totally break is.
It's good that it didn't totally break. I'm kind of impressed actually.
Because I got a lot of years of history of app and music purchases. Let me tell you, like movies and stuff too, like a lot. So many things could have gone wrong that didn't. And so,
yeah, well, that's good. That's good. All right. Apple Intelligence updates. We can skip that one.
Sure.
There's none. Oops, forgot. Ableton updates. What were the Ableton updates? Oh, wait, hang on. I got to remember. There's a new beta that has, it's like little stuff. It's like the updated auto filter and stuff like that. It's not huge. It's, there was a decent Move update that added the push style key layout. But what's interesting, if you get on the Ableton Discord, it's actually very active. Not just with Ableton certified trainers and stuff. It's just like regular people that use it. And, the owners of all these products are on there, like constantly answering questions just to the people. Like the guy who product owns the Move is like on there saying like, yep, this is coming in the next update. Like, it's crazy amount of access they're giving right now for all these new products, which is cool.
Wait, is the Discord like official? Is it from the company?
Yeah, they want you to stop using their Facebook groups and get on their Discord now because
gonna do that.
They have more engagement there and it's more control over it. They didn't like the Facebook stuff. And there's a lot of topics on there. There's like a thing for playback engineers. There's a thing for people that are making music. There's people that are like, there's like a whole beginner section and just like Ableton announcements and stuff like that. Um, yeah, it's actually pretty nice. It's a good companion to like the normal news sources. I thought the Move's audio interface has gotten a lot better. Like you can sample off the USB-C, which is kind of cool. So you can like audio out from your phone and go straight to the drum sampler. So you can like play a song into it. It's like it's still a little old school. You can't just like put a song on it, but you can like interface with it easier, which is kind of cool. And I could tell you in our group, we've gone like all in on digital instruments lately. Like we've got people on the move playing drums. We've got somebody playing melodies and birdie type stuff on the push three. And it's like we're kind of using the move as like a secondary sound module, if you remember those from back in the day, where it's like we have a synthesizer that has, it's got good sounds but a fairly limited focus, and then you kind of use the USB MIDI feature of the move to send audio from the move or send audio through the move so that you can get those sounds too. So you can just load up a song and have all your presets done for that song, and it's like a nice companion to a big stage synth, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I'm excited to one of these days. I'd love to get my hands on one and play with it a little bit. I saw one for the first time at TMEA, and I was like really impressed with just the layout of it and how easy it was, like how familiar it felt to the larger model. I didn't realize quite all that they had packed into it.
Yeah, and what's crazy is like these little things, they're like almost all Raspberry Pi based, and the stuff that you can do with that little computer, it's like able to keep up with the feature demands of most synthesizers. So like all of those Korg new ones that are like 2.5 octaves that all have like a different type of engine on them. It's like a whole collection. Every single one of them is a Raspberry Pi based thing. The Move is Raspberry Pi. Like that's like the go-to component for a lot of these companies that they need circuitry, but it has to be kind of off the shelf for it to be worth making. And so like, yeah, they're able to fit these big synth engines into these things. It has like a mini version of Wavetable operator, and I think Drift is the analog synth it uses. It's pretty impressive.
That's cool. Well, speaking of these little tiny workstation devices, I acquired a Yamaha SEQTRAK when we were in Texas a couple months back. And I actually was thinking I'm meeting with someone from Yamaha to like get a lesson in it next week. So I was thinking we could like maybe table this, talk about it more later. But I just wanted to say it's kind of a fun little looking device. Have you used one of these before? I mean, it's definitely in the same universe as, I would put it like as a, what do you call these things? Like,
Groove boxes.
Groove boxes is a good name. Do you have one right there?
Like
yeah,
this world kind of
yes.
OP1 style.
That kind of style thing. Yeah. I don't know if you would put the Ableton product in that same category. It's
I think you could. Yeah, I think you could.
So I'll report back on what I learned. I feel like I understand its limits, but I'm willing to, think it can. I'm willing to see if it can do more when I meet with Yamaha next week.
I'm interested. Yamaha has some kind of skunk works that they every now and then they come out with some really strange little new thing that like do you remember they had that Tenori on a long time ago that was like a grid based thing, and they, I don't know, they've got an R&D department that's probably got a lot of these things cooked up, and they release them every now and then. So I think it's cool when they do release it because it's just an interesting thought experiment usually.
Yeah, for sure.
What if we made music this way? It's kind of interesting.
Well, I'll report back once I've got some more experience. Do you want to tell me about the Metallica concert?
Oh my God. Yeah, this was like a gift to middle school Will was this immersive concert that was released on the Vision Pro. And I have not thought about Metallica in a long time, but that was pretty amazing. It's really well recorded. All of that content's good, but there's some that are better than others, and you can tell that they're using the newer kinds of cameras for it because it just like feels better. It's like that. But I mean, as a concert, it worked so well. It was just like you get all these camera angles of the guys, and you can, the takes are long enough that you can look around, but then it switches to keep it interesting. And the sound being spatial with the visuals being so engaging. It was like, this is a sick concert video. I'm usually bored to tears with concert videos. And man, that was awesome. They had another one that was like about the Yankees. And it was just this whole like thing about the World Series game last year. And it was like, this is cool too, because it's like, you're just like there. It's really impressive what the quality.
So do you think the reason why Apple hasn't done more live sports from the Vision Pro, like stuck a 3D camera like right on the sideline, is it because they can't, like they don't think it's good yet, or is it just not Yeah,
I think they're working on it still. Like the very first crop of videos looks different than the newest ones. It's not that they look worse, they just look different. And I think that the cameras have changed, and I think the workflow for filmmakers has changed. From what I understand, it's like hard for people to see what they're recording with those cameras currently. If they're not wired into an Apple Vision Pro, like proprietary style. So that's something they're working on. They just released some Blackmagic immersive camera and I think that's the one that they're using for a lot of this stuff. But man, the most recent stuff is like, wow, like they're figuring it out. This is very engaging content. I feel sorry that many people do not have any idea what I'm talking about. But it looks great, and it's like the future's here. And yeah, it's pretty crazy. Like my wife had the flu the other day, and we were like, had them on in separate rooms watching Wicked together, and it was like, this is the future. This is like totally amazing. It's totally inaccessible for most people right now, but yeah, it is very good. They did a good job. Anybody that tells you this product is a flop has not used one. It's, just because nobody can buy it doesn't mean it's a flop. Maybe they didn't want you to buy it. Maybe they're keeping it to themselves because it's so special.
I think I'll give Apple this. One of all the really, really big tech companies, like they can make stuff and they can ship stuff. And I think that's undervalued in, maybe in that field. But I can tell you, like, also just as an artist, I can respect when someone can say, I stand behind this. This is ready. This is something that's ready to like meet the public. And then of course to like have the engineering at scale. Like I think they definitely, that was kind of what they were trying to hit by releasing it. It was like, hey, we can actually like make this thing. It's real. And, I don't think they wanted it to be a mass hit right now. They're clearly,
there's no way that anybody expected that to be a huge hit at that price. I think they needed an excuse to buy those screens because those are not going to get improved upon in a while, probably. Like that particular OLED panel is locked down, and that's really what they wanted to build it around, like the chips and the enclosure, and that stuff can kind of all change. I read a report that like the shells of the unsold ones are still usable to make whatever updated one. So it's like, yeah, like they just needed to get that OLED panel. But yeah, it's really good. Someday we'll be able to all share things that way, but it's got a while to go still.
Yeah. Well, this moves us to our new unnamed segment of the show about AI. And I just wanted to say, like, we never really followed up on this, but at the Texas Music Educators Conference, there was a lot of AI topics in the sessions that I noticed, and I just, I popped into one of yours, and I don't remember the title of yours, but I felt like, a lot of these sessions were about the chatbots, but yours was a bigger picture than the chatbots. I felt like yours was really rooted in like creative process, and then the actual tools you really focused on were like not chatbots. They were like tools that an actual musician would use in a recording studio. And it's easy to, when talking about AI, to forget that AI means lots of things, not just LLM and chatbot stuff. So I don't know. I thought maybe if you wanted to talk about that.
I did reserve a portion of it for what I called intelligent agents, but yeah, I mean, the chatbot thing is the most obvious new thing that is kind of groundbreaking for people, but machine learning based music tools have been around for longer than that and are also thriving. And so I showed a few things that are becoming pretty commonplace that, like, when you show them to students, they're just second nature. Just like we would say, like, putting reverb on something is like, oh yeah, of course you can put reverb on something. It's like, well, of course you can stem separate a song and take the drums out. Duh. Like, nobody's like impressed with it anymore, but it is very much AI magic to unbake the cake of a mix down of like a stereo recording and just take one element out of it, because it really has to reconstruct the rest of it to know what it just removed and what it needs to put back to make it sound right. So yeah, I mean, I showed a couple things where you can like take a recording of a voice and change it to another voice, showing the stem separating stuff. I was showing the like generate a song wholesale for me, which, that's gotten some wire fraud charges on people over the last couple of years. If you're listening to some music on Spotify that you suspect might be AI generated, there is a lot of it on there. And it's not necessarily an epidemic, but it is a thing that there are fake artists and fake songs. And, it's all up to us to decide, like, what is this worth now? Like, what does it mean to us? And, what's the value of a creative process? I worked on that presentation over a couple different tries, and, when I gave it to my college class, it came off way more depressing than it came off at Texas. And the goal wasn't to be depressing. The goal was to kind of reframe why we do what we do, as music teachers, because, especially as music technology teachers, it's like, what's the goal? Is the goal like the recording, like the artifact? Is the goal like learning how to use a DAW? Is the goal like enabling new kinds of musicians? Like it kind of throws a wrench in some of your assumptions. Yeah, I mean, the other day I was really freaking my students out. I used that ChatGPT advanced voice mode to just have a natural conversation with it about what we were doing in class that day. And I mean, it gave everybody the ick. It was like way too real feeling. And they're like, stop talking to it like it's a person. And it's like, you can't not. I mean, it sounds like a person. You're just telling it about your class and it talks to you back. And it's like, it really works. It's incredible.
Yeah, I think, I get that feeling for sure. I mean, there's, I'll have to link in the show notes a podcast episode that friend of the show, Alan Georgia, sent me. And I can't remember the name of the show. But it was like, of all the like stuff that's out there, all of the like critical and well-founded critical takes on like AI and the discourse surrounding AI, I think this was probably the most helpful thing and original take on it that I've heard in a while. It's a Vox podcast called The Gray Area, and the episode is from March 31st. It's called Stop Comparing Yourself to AI.
Yeah.
And in the opening minutes of it, the premise is by the guest is that these companies kind of made a big mistake by positioning these things as like having personalities, and that all good computing technology needs to have a beneficiary, and how there's lots of really great uses for AI out there, and that the potential of AI has perhaps been obscured or, sort of like put into the wrong context by positioning it as like, this is a person you can talk to, like this is, a personality. And I think it's just interesting. That was why I brought up your AI session, because it's so easy to forget that there's all these AI tools that are out there that have always been out there for a while.
Well, and I showed a clip from Hypernormalization where they were describing how the first intelligent agents worked by just basically repeating back to you what you said. And the computer programmer behind it, it was almost a joke where he was like, this is like a psychotherapy technique where the therapist will just repeat back to you what you said, and that makes you feel better, that just to know that somebody heard it. And that's essentially how all of the algorithms are working right now. That's how ChatGPT is working. That's how, like, you asked it and it gives it to you. And it's not going to disagree with you. It's not going to call you out on it. It's going to give you a very neutral, agreeable answer for whatever it is you ask it to do. It's not going to say, are you sure this is a good idea to do that? It's just going to do it. So if you say, I want a sonnet about, whatever, it's like, yeah, you mean like this? Here you go. And it's like, it just does it. It's incredible that it can do it. And there's some tasks that I think there's tasks you could say are in the creativity extended universe, where it's like you do have to create something, but it's not something you personally care about that much, that this will be extremely helpful technology. And, in say the music world, I've seen so many AI based voiceovers in marching band shows, for instance, where it's like, here's, and just art, like the prints that are on the uniforms and the props and the tarps and things like that. It's obvious AI art sometimes. And it's like, there's probably some graphic designers not getting paid, but was this like personal, meaningful art to a lot of people, or was this a paycheck? And, I feel like there might be some missing paychecks, but it's not really taking away a lot of personal, meaningful art that I can see. It's just getting the job done that nobody really felt strongly about getting done. They just needed something. It's like the person who needed a graphic design background for, some piece of vinyl that's going to sit in the back of their performance isn't like, man, I really need this to be a special piece of art. No, it's like they just need a picture. It's just meaningless. It just needs to exist. And this stuff can help with that. And that's a weird, crazy thing to, swallow for some people, that it's like it's not all made by humans. But, what did Bill Gates say the other day? He said, like, we used to live in an age of like physical goods scarcity. We don't anymore. We used to live in an age of intelligence scarcity or skill scarcity. We don't anymore. And, his prediction was that humans won't be necessary for most tasks in about 5 years. I don't think he means humans are going away. I think he means that you can automate a lot of processes that you would have had to ask for help on before. So you need it, you can just have it. And now we get to decide what's meaningful again. Just like we got to decide if recordings are meaningful or not. The first audio recordings and the first movies, and we get to decide if this is a valid art form or not. And that's our job, to impart meaning on it, because the tool is there and we're the ones who decide how to use it.
Yeah, I could break open a lot of that. I want to, but maybe we can do it in little bits as well.
That's a good idea.
over time.
That's a good idea. It's a big topic.
I thought I would introduce another potential segment, the automation corner.
Okay.
Which I'm not going to go off the edge and be a weird nerd. I'm just going to say I reconfigured my Stream Deck the other day, and it's made me love the device again, sitting here on my desk. I still had some COVID era buttons that I haven't been using a lot. And changing the video angle of my Google Meet stream from my band classes and stuff. And I was like, let's just redo this whole thing. I've got a bunch of really cool shortcuts, series shortcuts that are like now one button presses right up on, next to, right above where I have it like set right above my trackpad. So I can just kind of reach up my finger and trigger some cool stuff. One of the things I really like is the Farrago soundboard app on the Mac has integration with this thing. So I've got like a couple little like hot shortcuts to like run sound effects from my soundboard. And it's just a good time, just throw a little bit of fun into your teaching. I've got an air horn. I've got the treasure chest Zelda opening sound. I've got the Jeopardy sound. I've got a That Was Easy button, like the Staples button. I've got a lot of stuff on there, and I'm having a good time with the Stream Deck.
That's really good. Yeah, that's fun stuff. I've been doing some automation. We've our electronic music group playback rig is highly automated now, and I made it so it has its own Mac Mini inside of it. And so when the band is playing, they have reference tracks and a click track running to their in-ear monitors, and I'm able to from the front of house remotely log into that Mac Mini and advance to the playback set, however many songs, we just have the set in order. The show just kind of runs on a timer almost, and it is just like stress free. It just works. And so lights are automated. The playlist is automated. All the reference is automated. The program changes for the software synth. It's all automated. And it's like, it's like a lot can go wrong before something really goes wrong. And what I'm building up to redundancy, where I can have two machines in there and it clicks over if one of them fails. That's what I'm working towards, but I'm not quite there yet. And that's been kind of fun because that's like a whole little networking task too, because you've got to have like a little private wireless network that's reliable, and all of the equipment kind of has backup versions of everything. So like this is a thing that I've noticed with a lot of music groups that have something like this, like a little portable sound system that they bring around with them. A lot of bands and choirs do this now. But there's not like a backup if something doesn't work. And so that's something I've been building in, is like, if there's a problem with vocals, there's like two different places the vocals are coming into the mixing board, and there's a backup reference recording that we can use as just voice support to make the vocals louder. Or if the mic totally goes out, she can just like lip sync to it. If the wireless control fails, there's like a wired backup to the whole system. There's so many little things that we've built into it that are just like right on. And we have like, multiple backup laptops that have everything on it too. It is like bulletproof. So that's what I've been working on lately, automation wise. Is all playback related stuff. Very exciting field for me.
See, I think like that is something that maybe enough people could relate to that could be a topic for a future episode. Like, I think there's people out there who would want to know the nuts and bolts about that setup.
It's interesting. The band people need it now. I mean, me and Ryan are getting involved with this BOA camp in the summer, and it wasn't that many years ago where I'll put it gently, like our interests did not intersect. Let's just put it that way. And now everybody's using the same equipment. It's like what you need for a pop music group is exactly what you need for a drum line. It's exactly what you need for a cappella. Everything's so portable and accessible now that you can design a world-class playback rig with off-the-shelf stuff that doesn't cost $1 billion. And, as long as you learn some software like Ableton Live or something, that you can craft all your click tracks and craft all your MD guides and stuff like that. You can shave so much rehearsal time off of at least like a pop music group. We can learn a song in like 30 minutes and it's in the set now. Like, it's good enough after 30 minutes because all of the guesswork is taken out. You have a guy in your ear that's telling you exactly what to do the entire time, and you just have to memorize it now. It's just like, bam. And, I know that bands have been doing stuff like the drill book thing and the synced up lyres and stuff like that. And it's like, give this another 5-10 years to cook where everything's wireless and portable. It's like the performance is all about the design and the personality more so than the element of danger and will they survive the performance, which is a totally different kind of performance. Does that mean punk rock's going to come back and we're going to introduce, like a neo-Luddite version of this where it's all natural again? Or are we, just going for AAA production value at the small scale? It's an interesting new world.
Yeah. I think we might see all of that happen, but I don't know the future. You're better at predicting it I am, at least.
Yeah, well, okay. I have one good track record. I did predict one thing correctly on this show that one time.
That's true. I'm never going to forget it, though.
I was right that one time. Never forget. But who knows? Who knows what's going to happen? I would never have predicted brain rot, the types of videos that kids think are like what they want to watch, and then the weird push and pull cycle of kids realizing it's brain rot and then self-referencing the brain rot and like embracing that it's a stupid thing they like. And then like I have some kids this year that were they're so like they all call themselves iPad kids, but they're incredibly self-aware about it. And they the other day at lunch, they have this like aid computer that's just like an extra computer that the aides can use. And they had the aid computer set up with the top half of the screen was an episode of House playing at like 2x speed. And the bottom half of the screen was soap cutting videos. And then the Chromebook had an episode of The Office on it. And then, and they were playing Balatro on their phones while they were doing it. And they're like homemade brain rot. It was hilarious.
Balatro is good.
Balatro is the Tetris of our generation. That's what VJ says. And all of my students are addicted to it. We all talk in terms of chips and malt. And you're like, that guy's all chips, but no malt,
That game just clicked for me like very recently. Like I've had it kind of installed on my phone for quite a while. And then I just finally like kept kind of doing the loop until eventually it clicked and I got my first decent run.
Oh man, I hit a good run the other day. I had like, wait, I've got it saved on my screen here. Let's see, my last round score was 21 million. Best hand was 5 million something.
There you go.
Wait, what was the ante 11? That's as far as I've gotten so far.
That is way more than I have ever scored, but I'm new.
I've had some kids get into scientific notation already. It's insane.
Wow.
Check out Balatro, everybody.
Yeah,
it's
do
important. Play it on your plan period.
It's available on every platform, and Apple Arcade Plus is what I have it from because I've got that thing where you just give Apple $30 a month and you get everything.
Oh, totally. Yeah, that's a great deal. Balatro, it's worth it just for Balatro.
All right, we've got a couple of we can probably do these a little quicker than we had anticipated. I mean, there was a cool article I liked that I always enjoy on sixcolors.com, which is kind of like an Apple report card.
Yeah,
where Jason Snell breaks down Apple's performance for the year.
He was not too favorable this year.
Well, he doesn't. So he actually doesn't vote, but he has about I don't know 40 or 50. I'm not sure how many this year he has, but he's got a bunch of people who follow Apple closely, who vote, and then he's got graphs and charts and stuff. I'll link this post he did in the show notes. But I thought it might be fun to just do our own report card and maybe not talk about everything that's on this category that's on here.
Just like one
the high and the low.
Gut check on each one of these categories.
And I think with any kind of rating system, I think it's interesting to pick it apart more than the letter itself. Like most of these I could go higher or lower. But we'll start with the Mac. I said B for the Mac in 2024. Hardware better than ever.
Yeah. I think I'm with his score. He says an A-. I mean, I would give it an A, honestly. Like, some good computers have come out this year. Um, my laptop that I got is great. The M3, the M4, like that series is really solid. The new Mac Mini kicks butt. Like, I've got one on my desk right now. Mac is back. Mac is very healthy.
It's absolutely in its best place ever, and I can see an A minus. The thing for me is like that Mac OS is more in the way of the user than it ever has been before, with all the like pop-ups. Like I'm just looking at our Zoom call right here. Every time I do a video, anything, I get this pop-up that tells me that those like reactions are on. Like if I give a thumbs up and it animates, and I'm like, I don't need you to tell me that every time I turn my video camera on. Like it's obnoxious.
Yeah. They've gotten bad with the pop-ups and the notifications, but it's still better than everything else out there. Like my son just switched to an M1 laptop, and like he's been tinkering with Windows and Linux for a while, and he's like, "Oh my gosh, this is so much faster to just get things done." It's like, yep. Yeah, I mean, Mac is great. iPad's great too. iPad's fine. It's an iPad.
I would say similarly for the iPhone. Like I think some iPhones hit a little bit better for me, like with the battery life usually being something that I notice if it's maybe not a great year for that.
Yeah.
In general, though, like
the newest, the 16's got decent battery life.
It's pretty good. Yeah, it's better than the last go. I think I had a 15 that was not as good as previous years. But yeah, I think iPhone is something that Apple consistently does about as good as anyone can do it. Better actually. The iPad, again, it's a software thing for me. Like I'm critical of the iPad just because it's like I still think it's not really fulfilling its promise. I would love to run Mac OS. I mean, I'm seeing these rumors of like in several years maybe we're going to have a phone that unfolds into an iPad mini size kind of a thing. If you give me that and an iPad that can run Mac OS, like that would be it. Those are the only two things I'd ever carry on my person.
Yeah, just they got to bite the bullet and allow cross-platform stuff at some point, and like maybe let you do an advanced mode on it. But like, I mean, this is the thing: is like if you're all in on Apple stuff, you've got one of everything already, and if you're not, you quickly see where the ceiling is on an iPad. Like when I see a student come in and they've got an iPad with Final Cut, it's like they can get like 80% of the way, but as soon as they hit the ceiling, they switch to the Mac. And it's like, you know, it's great that it exists, but I don't know about these like halfway apps. I don't feel like there's a huge reason that the app has to be simpler. I feel like DaVinci Resolve is a pretty good example of that, where it's just the desktop version with a couple missing panels. I think that, you know, like, you know, do I want to use Ableton Note on an iPad? No. Do I want to use some kind of WebDAW on an iPad? Sure. So I feel like there's like the middle ground is on the web right now, which is awkward, but you know what? That's just what it is. Like, I do like the idea that the iPad app is by design a middleweight app that can run on lots of platforms. They've kind of done that well, where like I can open an iPad app on, you know, it looks like an iPad app on the Apple TV or on the Vision Pro, or, you know, it's similar to the phone one. Like that app format, I can tell that they've like invested in a bit. I still would not be surprised if there's more blending of a Mac app and an iPad app, and there's some kind of new universal thing at some point.
Well, you know, there's rumors that iOS and macOS and all of the platforms are going to get a really big makeover in the UI announced at their developer conference in June.
Yeah.
And that would be interesting to see if there was like some sort of under the hood reason why a Mac app and an iPad app would need to further converge in their design than they already have. And if it meant that, you know, maybe like it would be interesting. I think it's doable. Like they have all the bits. It's just, I know it's a much more complicated technical problem than I'm making it out to be, but it would be really interesting if you could run a touch-based, like the Logic Pro that they made for iPad when it's detached from a keyboard, but when you dock it, some elements of the user interface change, and you're like running a more fully featured version like the Mac. Like that would be kind of interesting to me. You're right, though. The iPad apps that are like iPad apps first, but then that scale to the Vision Pro and the Mac are really very good. Like, they're not perfect, but like I'll give you a great example of this. Like, I'm running an app on my, like, I've been like food tracking lately for health reasons, and like I'm using this iOS app to track what I'm eating. And like it's made by an indie developer who knows how to check the box and get your iPad app to run on Mac. And so I have a Mac version of the app, and it's like a lot easier to type stuff, food and stuff into my Mac keyboard than it is on my tiny phone screen. So I'm like all day long just typing into this little, it's Food Noms is the app. It's really good. And it's like a little, it doesn't look like it's a true form Mac app, but I love having it on here. Like, it's really nice, and it behaves better than a lot of apps that I know have been designed specifically for the Mac. So that's cool.
True. And I get a lot of use out of an iPad Pro that's docked to the keyboard. Like, that gets the job done in a lot of ways that it used to not. So, I mean, it's slow, but I feel like it is converging to some kind of an answer of like what's an appropriate app for that size of thing. And I feel like, your Mac is going to get, the edge cases like it always has, but the middle is going to kind of, look at how they bought Pixelmator. That's a iPad looking app that runs on a Mac.
Mm-hmm. Well, the Pro version is not on iPad.
It's not. Pro. No, I mean, I use it on the Mac, but it looks like an iPad app, and I don't see a reason why it couldn't be an iPad app. But yeah, you're absolutely right. You'd have to make an interface that like could flip and change, and like that sounds complicated. So I can see why they're hesitant. I guess we'll just see how that goes. It could be that the Mac still slowly becomes more iPad-like too. I mean, Stage Manager makes it feel like an iPad.
Yeah.
All right. The other ones are less interesting. Like,
they are. I want to do it anyway, though. Wearables. I mean, you already said earlier.
Vision Pro kicks butt. Everything else is like whatever.
I like my watch quite a lot. I think, though, like, I'm kind of bummed that they haven't worked out that thing with like the blood oxygen sensor.
Yeah, they've been kicking the can down the road on the watch. They know that people aren't going to upgrade these every year, so
it's kind of like the iPad, though. I feel like they have such a lead in iPad and watch that there's just not a whole lot of incentive to.
Absolutely true. I mean, I like the Ultra for the battery life, but there's an obvious like issue where they can't make it better battery life smaller than this, so they're stagnated there. Home stuff also very stagnated. The Apple TV is very stagnated right now.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
We'll see what happens.
Yeah,
but that stuff's not that important. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, it's stagnated. Like, I'm not sitting here saying they're failing as a company because Siri is not amazing. It's like they are feeling competitive pressure, but I am not feeling demand.
Well, and maybe that fits into a future AI discussion, because a lot of that AI pressure is driving the Siri pressure, I think, lately. Yeah. And I don't know who is demanding any of the AI anything that we're actually getting.
No, they're forcing it down our throats. They should have never shipped Image Playground. That is the biggest hot piece of garbage I've ever seen on an Apple device. It's like, I want to delete that from everything. It's embarrassing. Like, that app sucks so bad. And I like AI image creation stuff, but that one is particularly bad. And it's like, they should not have shipped it. That is like stupid. And they're integrating it into other stuff. Like, I got a Final Cut update the other day that was like, now you can use Image Playground. I'm like, wow, will I ever want to? That's a terrible app. It makes ugly pictures of things that I didn't ask for. Like, I don't know.
It's bad. I've got lots of feelings about why it's bad on multiple levels, but we can move on. I did want to highlight, just say, like, we already mentioned their hardware reliability is very good. I said as much as that in my blog post, but I did want to also say, like, one of the categories on the report card was developer relations. And I forget if it was you who was on last when we talked about this, but I feel like one of the most interesting developments for software in the past couple of years has been like that Apple let game emulators run on the iPhone. Presumably, it's not like they outright said it, but it seems pretty clear that like stuff that the EU regulations have forced them to do over there have like kind of like forced their hand. Like, they've said, oh, well, we'll just maybe that will like eliminate demand for third-party app stores if we just let everybody in the whole world have that And I'm thinking like, okay, well, that immediately opened up a whole new app category that didn't exist before. And I just think to myself, how many other categories of cool apps Apple is limiting based on continuing to drive their developer relations into the ground.
Oh, yeah. And you know what? All that stuff we said about the iPad, if they didn't have to go through the App Store. Like, I feel like the App Store is great, but like it's great because it's convenient, not because it's the only way to do it. And if they had, like, let's throw it on so Gatekeeper's fully on and let me sideload things. That would, so many people don't want to pay the 30% because they can't. Their business will go out of business if they're paying that 30% fee. Like, they make such a niche product that the average person, the volume they make up in being on the App Store is not going to make it work for them. So, like, yeah, no, on all of the ones that are more computer-like, including the Vision Pro, which these guys roasted on the website, like, just open it up, man. Let me load a DMG just like I do on a Mac. Like, that works. It's time-tested. It works. Maybe update the DMG format if you don't like how it looks. But, like, it's like, we're not dumb. We know how computers work. Like, if we bought an Apple product, it's because we want to do a little more with it than the average person. Just let us do it.
I feel like too, like regular people want the simplicity of the App Store. Like I do get that argument to an extent, but I feel like every person I know has one unique app that they went out of their way to install on their Mac. Like for a lot of my colleagues, it's like Sibelius or something, like one of these notation tools. Of course, a lot of that stuff you can get on the web now, but I think a lot of people feel like they were forced to use these web options because it was no longer convenient to deal with like the Sibelius pricing structures or their weird thing, Avid thing you've got to have installed. And then it's like, there's not a whole lot of competition there.
Well, I mean, that's a good argument for the App Store is like I've got these universal audio interfaces, and the driver installation for these is just the dumbest thing in the world. It's like, these are not doing anything so special that you needed me to do all of that. Like, you could have figured out an easier way for me to deal with this software. And like, you know, some of it, it's like, it's a good thing. Like, it's a great thing to get rid of printer drivers. I don't miss having to install those.
Yeah.
This is a problem. Hopefully it'll get solved within our lifetimes, but it probably won't. So there we go.
Yeah, it's funny. I'm a little bit picky and choosy, maybe even in a hypocritical way about where I want Apple to exercise their control. But I'll just say, since you brushed over Apple TV, if you'll remember, there was a time in history where all of the streaming apps just provided content to the Apple TV, and Apple designed the same exact user interface for whether it was Netflix, Hulu, or HBO. How you scrolled through the episodes and the seasons looked exactly the same interface. Those were good days. And
I remember that. I remember that. And hey, Amazon fixed theirs at least.
Don't get me started on Amazon. Having
the
a
Prime
5-year-old
Video app behaves normally now. It doesn't.
Having a 5-year-old who wants to rewatch the same episode over and over again is not a fun thing when it comes to that Amazon app. But they did improve it.
The Apple TV thing that bugs me is that it shows the iTunes button still and then tells you it's moved. And it's like, just move it. Just change the button. Take the button away, please. Don't tell me it's moved for 2 years.
Oh, you mean how there's still like an iTunes movies and an iTunes
it's
TV
like
shows
the
app?
main thing on the dock, and it's like, I want to go to movies, and it's like, you hit the wrong button. The button that says movies, that was a bad choice. You should know that they've moved. And it's like, no, don't tell me they've moved. Give me a link to go to movies. That's what I'm trying to do. All right, this is depressing.
Sorry. We could move this next one to a future time if you want to. I feel like it could be big. Or
let's get to the music picks. This looks fun.
All right, sounds good.
You're listening to Mac Miller.
I like Mac Miller. I go through a phases every now and then. No album in particular, just all of like, hey Dingus, play me Mac Miller. And then,
is that happy music or angry music for you?
Oh, what do you exactly mean by that question?
You know, like sometimes when you listen to something like that, you're like, yeah, man, I'm just like blowing off steam, or like, yeah, I'm celebrating.
I think like Mac Miller is often like I'm driving around with the windows rolled down kind of music for me. Yeah.
Nice. That's good energy. I like that.
Yeah. Same for like, so I'll just throw out there also New Birth by the Funky Knuckles.
Cool.
It's another one of those things where it's like I'll give the algorithm credit where due. It just came on to like, one of these like Apple. It's like where I let Apple Music play. I play it some funk, and then I just let it keep rolling after it's done whatever album I selected. And it's something every now and then something comes up, and I'm like, oh, what is that? I go in and run to see that it's off of this record by the Funky Knuckles.
So like jazz kind of.
Yeah, like fusion.
Huh. Never heard of it.
Good group.
Cool. Yeah, I was throwing on Panda Bear. I don't know if you've ever heard. It's like indie music. It sounds like the Beach Boys are singing over like chill wave kind of. It's got a lot of vocal harmonies, and their new album's pretty good. It's vibey. It's like down tempo kind of sad music. And then my other thing was like sometime around TMEA, I just decided I was going to watch like every David Lynch movie because he died. And I was like totally obsessed with a couple of them. And so like the opening of Lost Highway has this crazy David Bowie song that I'd never heard before. And that movie has definitely stuck with me. It's a bizarre movie and good song choices. He was good at picking soundtracks. But yeah, I don't know if you've gone down the David Lynch rabbit hole, but Mulholland Drive, one of the best movies I've ever seen.
I am this close. I'm holding my fingers very close together for those who cannot see me. I'm this close to having Mary on board for our first viewing of Twin Peaks.
Oh, okay. All right. Twin Peaks is a good way in for most people. That's the most normal thing that he's made. I mean, except for the Straight Story, but that's a different thing. But like, I mean, if Twin Peaks, okay, so like Mulholland Drive was like another TV project, but they didn't pick it up. And so he finished the pilot as a movie, but it's like 18 months different between when he did like all of the stuff that's like openings gets satisfying conclusions, but it's like you bring your own meaning to it because so much of it's non sequiturs, and it's just bananas that like anybody would ever have aired this on ABC. So like, it's like, did he even expect this to get aired? Because it's like, it is a genius movie. It's like God tier filmmaking.
Okay.
But yeah, it's not a family film.
All right, good to note that.
Yeah, note that.
I've got it
first.
on my to watch list, which is
Twin Peaks is okay. Twin Peaks is like, that's like the first show like that.
I feel obligated. I know that at this point, like anything, if you let enough history pass, you're seeing whatever media you're consuming is like referencing everything that's come before it. Like, it's in the same way that it's like, I don't think that like every kid today has to go back and watch every old movie. Like you don't have to see Gone with the Wind to understand Gone with the Wind if it's been like iterated on. But like, I don't know. I feel particularly like this is one way. It's also like not long, right? It's like 2 seasons.
Yeah.
Twin Peaks.
Yeah, no, it's short.
Like, fairly low commitment. Like, I feel like we can knock it out.
And it's short, and midway through season 2, you'll see where the executives pulled the plug.
Okay. Fair enough. Well, I got an outro, so we're done. You got anything else?
I like it. This is good.
Great. We did it.
Good show, everybody.
Happy to be short.
We did it.
Yep.
We landed the plane.
Thanks for listening to Music Ed Tech Talk. I hope you subscribe to the show and review it in your favorite podcast app. You can find me at robbyburns.com and Will at willkuhn.com. The show is edited by Jay Matejko. Design work is by Ryan Bailey. Everything else is by me. See you next time.